Hey guys, welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily, and today I have compiled all of my favorite 4th of July DIYs into one video for you to sit back and enjoy. I would love if you would consider subscribing and clicking that like button. I think we should get started with all of the fun patriotic DIYs. I absolutely love this project. I think you're gonna like this one too. It's super fun and super easy. So I take these 2 squares that are from a pack of 5 or 6 wood squares that you can get at Dollar Tree, and it's 5 or 6 in a pack for $1. And I'm gonna paint one of them white and then the other one blue. And I give them each a couple of coats just to make sure that they're completely covered and look really good. And I do front and back on them both. I found these cute little shape puzzles at Dollar Tree and grabbed them specifically to do something for 4th of July because I love those little star shapes. So I'm going to use 3 of those stars, and I'm going to coat both of them, or all 3 of them, not both, there's 3. All 3 of them in white paint. I then tape off 2 stripes on my one white board there, and then paint the negative space red, so that way I'm going to have red and white stripe, if that makes sense. So you can see I'm taking that tape off, so I'm left with some stripes there. If you have watched me ever before, you know I do like to distress things. I distress every single thing almost, and so I do give this really good sanding with my emery board to clear all of those edges off, give them that really roughed up and weathered look. And then I do the same thing with my blue and give all of the corners some good attention to make this look really weathered. Of course, this is completely optional and personal. This is going in my home, so I'm decorating it how I like to see my things look. So that you can see what I'm going to do with the stars there. Obviously, this is coming together. I found this little ampersand sign at Walmart. I believe 97 cents was what the price was. It could have been $1.97. I'm not 100% sure, guys, but it was less than $2. But I want my stars to match, so I do take some mineral chalk paint and paint each of those stars to give them that weathered look to kind of match that ampersand. And so I'm using some super glue as well as hot glue on that, so that way I can make sure it's going to hold, because this is what's holding everything together. And there we go, I placed that down, and I did glue all those stars down. And I'm just showing you can use some twine to use it like as a door hanger on a wreath, or you can use some Jenga blocks on the back of it to have it stand, or you can just have it like on a tiered tray just to kind of lean up against something. I did take some jute twine and made a cute little twine bow, and there you go, you have stars and stripes. I think this is going to be so cute in my 4th of July decor. Let me know down in the comments if you were to make this, where you would put this. And now for this cute little sign that has kind of what looks like shiplap boards to me on the back. We're going to make a cute little sign that says USA. And so I'm just going to give the whole background some really good coats of white paint, make sure it's completely covered. It was kind of like a purpley gray almost, the frame, and then the inside was a really kind of grayish, not so bright white. So I'm just using plaster here, and you know that plaster is not really a true white either, but you can see how white this looks next to what's on there. I decide at this moment in time that I want to maybe de-stress the frame, maybe kind of make it look a little bit like wood or something like that. So I clean it all off, and then I go and intentionally dry brush it. And then I do go in with like some elephant chalk paint and kind of cover and de-stress it with that, age it. And then I kind of go back and forth with the white and the elephant to kind of make the frame look a little bit aged. I end up not leaving it this way, but I thought I would leave this in for a couple of reasons. Number one, you can kind of determine whether you like it or not. And the second reason is because sometimes when you're crafting, you envision something and you do it and it's not maybe what you wanted, or you think of something else halfway through. And this just kind of shows the process that it's okay to change things, and and it's sometimes super easy just to change things. So what I'm going to do here is take these letters that I got off of a banner from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue them together. So I have the S kind of on top raised so that way it will fit onto the frame that I'm working with there. And then I'm just going to use some hot glue to glue those on. But what I'm going to do, this is where I change the frame. I'm going to take the blue and just use it on like a baby wipe. And I'm just going to go around all of the edges and on the side of the edges, you'll see what I mean here, and just give it a blue color. I just felt that looked a little bit more patriotic. I liked that a little bit better. I didn't not like the other. I just felt like for this project, I liked the blue on the frame better. What do you think? I'd like to know down in the comments if there's something that, if you liked the blue frame, or if you would have left it, or if you would have done something completely different. So curious there. Okay, and here we're just going to use the hot glue on the back of, and I just do it on the U and the A because the S actually doesn't touch the background. And I'm just going to press that down firmly so that it stays there. And then I'm going to make a cute little bow. So I'm going to use this polka dot ribbon. I felt like with the stripes that were on the S that the polka dot ribbon actually looked a little bit better. I like the way that was. So I'm just going to make a cute little bow to put on the corner of the frame. And I just attach it with some hot glue and then just kind of get the ends to how I like them. And I think this looks super cute. I think this is a great addition to any 4th of July or patriotic decor. I'm super excited to put this in my house. I actually really like how this turned out. What do you think of this one? Have you guys seen these darling wooden lanterns start to surface around the cute little shops and on Instagram and places? I absolutely love them and wanted to try and make my own. So I had to come up with a template. I'm going to use my jigsaw to make these. So I found this particular one that I decided to use as a template. So all I did was I went on my phone and took a screenshot of this item. Then I went into Cricut Design Space and clicked on upload and then chose this from my photos. So then I take my eraser tool and I'm just erasing around it, and then I'm using the little magic wand tool to take away any of the other solid spaces that I don't want. And then I just go ahead and erase this part of the bottom to make a straight line, and then I'm erasing everything out of the center here. This is going to allow me to cut a template out on my Cricut. So I don't know if you guys have ever used this feature before where you can go upload your own images, but this was the only way I could think of to get this particular shape that I wanted. So then you just hit your next button, and I'm smoothing it out to take any of the ridges or anything out. And then I obviously just save it under what I want my name to be and save it as a cut file. And then it will go ahead and insert it into your canvas that you're working on. And then you just size it to what you want, and then you'll just cut that out. So you can see here, I'm just taking that out, and I'm using, if you guys saw my project where I cut my Gothic window out, I'm using a piece of that same wood. So for $30, I got this gigantic piece of wood, and this piece right here is a third of it. So I can easily cut another lantern, like 2 more lanterns and 2 more windows out of the other pieces I have, if that makes sense. So this was just one of the 3 sheets I have. So I'm just taking my jigsaw and I'm I'm cutting along the lines that I've traced, and I'm just working, you know, the jigsaw is very easy to use. This is the second project I've ever done. It goes slow, it's not super fast. I was worried that it was going to be faster than what I could handle, but you honestly can go your own speed, and even at like the fastest you would go, it's still rather slow that you feel very in control. So definitely look in to using some power tools if you have access to some. We were remodeling our bathroom and needed a jigsaw to do a couple of the things in there. I think we got this for around $50 or $60. I mean, they start around $30 and go up. We just went with this one because we felt some of the features it had was a little bit nicer than the lowest end, but they're not very expensive. So I definitely recommend looking into getting one if you've wanted to. I mean, I have the 2 projects I've made, I have absolutely loved. When my husband saw this one finished, he was like, "You made that?" Like, he was very impressed. So I then cutting off the ends to get them the length that I want and making sure that they both line up, both pieces, because I cut this out twice. So I have 2 of these shapes cut out. And then I'm sanding the edge to round it off and make it look like it's not so harshly cut out of wood. I'm giving it a little bit of a distressed look already. Then one of the pieces you're going to cut the top in half, so it will be in 2 separate pieces, because you're going to put these together like how you just saw there. So I'm taking one of the center pieces from them to cut the base out of. So I clamped all my pieces, you can kind of see in the bottom corner there. I clamped them together and then I set them on the base, so I knew where to mark out how to cut the square of my base. So you can just see I'm cutting that, and I do a little bit of a rounded edge to the corners because I thought that was a pretty nice look. Now I apologize because I was out of frame when I filmed this, so I'm gonna do the best to show you. That you can see down on the piece on the table, there's that little bit of glue, and I'm gluing the edge of the top of the piece I cut in half, and I'm going to glue that to where that other glue was, so these are all together. So I do that with both sides, and I apologize that I had that out of frame, but you can kind of see how it's standing up here and how it is. Then I'm taking these paint stir sticks and I'm measuring them where I want them cut and cutting them in my miter box at a 45-degree angle, and you can see how they fit right in there. Then I'm going to take my glue, and I do use some hot glue to give it that little bit of temporary hold, and glue it to my base. And then I'm going to do the same thing with each of these little pieces that I cut at the 45-degree angle to glue them in. You can kind of see how I take the wood glue and the hot glue. I want this to be extremely sturdy, so that way it's not coming apart, and trust me, it's not going anywhere. And then I do take some hot glue and I do go in and glue around each of the pieces there just to give it an extra layer of stability where it's on the inside. I don't think you're gonna see it that much. And then I do take some wood glue. I cut this little circular piece out of the MDF board also, and I just glue that on with some wood glue, and then I clamp it. Now between each stage of these with the wood glue, I'm waiting about an hour to 2 hours to let it dry. Overnight is the best cure, 24 hours for wood glue, but it is so sturdy, you can see even after a couple of hours. So I take this little finial that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just gonna put the wood glue on that, and I'm gonna smear it with my finger a little bit to get a good coverage, and then I'm gonna clamp that on and let that cure. So you can see when I take that clamp off that I can literally shake it by that finial and it's not going anywhere. So I decided to spray paint this because I thought that would give me the easiest and best way to get coverage. You can of course do whatever style and whatever suits you the most and in whatever color. I kind of thought maybe a Kelly green color might be kind of fun to do, or a coastal blue. But I just want a kind of a neutral one for this one. I go along each of the edges with my emery board and we're gonna rough it up. All of the pictures of these I've seen, all the ones in person I've seen have been very well weathered and distressed, so I don't feel bad at all about doing that with this. I do go in with some of the mineral chalk paint. It is an extremely good color to give you some weathered and aged look. I had never really used mineral for aging, and I saw Teresa from Teresa B DIY do it on some of her projects, and I loved the way it looked. So thanks for giving me the inspiration, Teresa. And I just go around, you can see how it gives it that really good aged and weathered look. Guys, what do you think of this? I still am amazed when I look at this that I actually made this myself. Power tools are so fun, and if you have access to some, I definitely recommend trying some of these projects out This was the second thing I had ever made with my jigsaw, and I mean, I just feel like it turned out amazing. You're gonna have to let me know down in the comments what you think. I hope that this gives Missy from the Crafty Cove some inspiration. She has been saying that she wants to start working with some power tools, so I hope this gives her some inspiration to get working on some of those fun projects. But let me know down in the comments how you would style this. Would you use it with candles? Would you style it with some other things? I feel like this fits so many different decor styles. So definitely let me know down in the bottom what you think. So I bought some of this air dry clay at Dollar Tree, and I've been trying to think of what to do with it. And I thought it'd be fun to do a beaded garland. So I just got a star shape. A cookie cutter would work super easy to do this. I just cut one out with my Cricut and then used my little X-Acto knife to trim around it. I then take some water and spray on the top of it to kind of smooth it out, kind of make those cracks disappear a little bit. And I do that to the front and as well as the back. I then take a paintbrush that has a small sized end to it, and I kind of make a little bit of a hole in there because I'm going to feed my jute twine through there after I do the beaded garland. I laid my pattern out that I wanted here. I wanted a bunch of natural beads, some blue beads and some red beads, and I had a viewer leave me a message on one of my, or comment on one of my videos to try this tip when painting beads. So I just put a little bit of paint into a Ziploc bag and kind of mushed them around, and here we go. I was actually quite impressed with how well the coverage got. It wasn't super goopy. Maybe start with a little bit of paint. You can always add more into it. I got a little carried away with the blue, but I'll show you how I fixed that. But you just kind of rub them around, make sure they're all covered really good. So these were a little bit goopy when they came out, so I took just a baby wipe and I set it on top of them and then just kind of rolled them all around, and that did take off all the excess, and you can see they look really good. So definitely a tip that I'm going to be using in the future. So I thread these on then in the pattern that I had sitting out, and as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I don't love the way the natural beads look, mostly because I'm going to be painting my star white and I want them to match that more. So I probably should have just put those natural beads in with some white paint in a bag and done the same technique with those. However, I didn't. I was a little too lazy to take it apart, so I just went ahead and took my natural beads. I kind of scooted the other beads away from one another. That way I had a little bit of space to work with, and I just went ahead and dry brushed on each of these just to brighten them up a little bit. And then I wasn't so concerned if some of the white got on the other beads, because I felt like, of course, it just gave a little bit of a distressed look on there. And then I do just go ahead and tie off each end. I do take some of this blue baker's twine that I found at Dollar Tree, and then my Amazon red baker's twine, which I'll link below down in my description box. But I do just wrap those around my hand quite a few times, and then I do take some jute twine and wrap on top of that, so that way it's kind of a blended tassel. After you've got your loop of your tassel, you're just going to tie that end onto the beaded garland. And then after you get that all affixed there, you're going to take another piece of twine and go down maybe a quarter of the way to tie it off. This is what's going to give this the traditional tassel shape, and then you will just wrap it around however many desired times and tie that off. And then I do use my glue gun to make sure that that is affixed and not coming off. I am going to give each side of this star a very good coat of my white chalk paint. You can use whatever color you want. You can do it red or blue, or if you're doing a non-patriotic theme, do it whatever color you would like. I do want to mention that you do want to let this clay dry for at least 24 hours. And then I do just feed my tassel through. I left a little bit of twine on the end there so I could feed that through. And here we go. I hung off one of my lantern that I did a few weeks ago, and I think this looks super cute. And I do just want to say, I feel this goes without saying, but let's say it anyway. If you hang a tassel off of here, you are not going to burn a candle. You're going to use a battery operated candle, okay? But I just think this turned out so cute. I love it. It's going to be so fun either hanging from my lantern here or a tiered tray. I think this would also be something really fun that you could do with your kids or grandkids. If you guys have an Instagram account, come find me. I am Farm Charm Chic. I will leave a link in my description box for you so you can easily find me there. And it's a lot of the same stuff that I make here on YouTube. I have the final products of the projects that I've been working on. I also post some home decor inspiration, things like that on there. We definitely have a lot of fun on my Instagram page, so come find me if you haven't already. For this project, I needed a heart shape cut out of wood. Now you can find heart shapes cut out of wood at Walmart, at Hobby Lobby. You can even find them at Dollar Tree. I did not have any of those, so I decided that I would make my own. I've become such a fan of using my jigsaw that I just took a heart template. You could freehand it, and I just went ahead and traced it onto some MDF board and then cut it out. I recently burned up the motor in my sander, and so I had to hand sand all of these edges. You definitely, when you're cutting MDF board, want to make sure that you do kind of round all the edges there. It sands super easy, so it didn't really matter that I was using it with my hand. I didn't even have a sanding block or anything. I just went ahead with regular sandpaper and just went around softening all of the edges of this and giving it almost like a carved out of wood look. I then took it back into my studio and I got some white paint, and I give this 2 to 3 really good coats of any white paint just to give it that base color. I did have a star wood shape from Dollar Tree, so I just cut the tassel off that, and I'm using my spackling to fill in that hole where the tassel, the jute twine was. And then I am also going to give this 2 to 3 really good coats of white paint. Again, this is just giving this a base color. I'm going to paint some white stripes onto this heart, so I lay my spacer piece of painter's tape down and then lay my 2 tapes that I'm using to block the paint from, if that makes sense. You can see how I'm doing that all the way down. I make sure all of my edges are pushed down really well, and then I do my pounce method where I pounce the paint onto all of the edges and let that dry as I'm painting, if that makes sense. You can kind of see what I'm doing here on each of the edges. After I have pounced along all of the edges, I then go in and fill all of the negative space in with the red paint. I give this 2 coats of red paint everywhere that I want the stripes to be, both on the edge and on the front. Now comes the satisfying and fun part of taking the paint off to see how well your stripes did. I remove all of the tape here. And there's always room that if you need to go in and fix, you can go in and fix an area if you had a little bit of bleed through. I then am taking some vinyl star cutouts that I cut out with my Cricut. You could use star stickers, or you could even freehand stars on here. And I pounced the blue paint on top of all of the vinyl stickers that are on there, and I do paint the front and back of this sign. Now, if you're one that likes crisp, clean lines and no distressing, then definitely don't do this step, but I love everything distressed and farmhouse, and I absolutely love the way that the red paint looks with the white underneath it when you sand it down. So I do just go ahead and sand down all of the edges. I do want to mention that if you want to go ahead and paint stripes on the back, definitely do that. For the sake of time in doing this, I did not do that, and where it's going to be placed in my home, you are not going to see the back of it. I do take the star stickers off of this blue star, and then I do de-stress this. So of course, if you don't want to do that, obviously don't. But as you can see here, I love the way that this chalk paint sands when you have the white paint underneath it. I feel like it really does give it that old Americana type style, like definitely farmhouse, something that's been sitting out on your porch for a while and been weathered. We're going to place the star on top of the heart, but first I'm going to take some antique wax with some water, and I just flip a little bit of that on. I feel this just kind of gives it another little bit of visual, my goodness, I can't talk, visual interest. And I take some twine and wrap it around my star. I do it about 4 times, and then I just tie it off in the back. And then I do have this cute little bow with rosette that I got from Hobby Lobby that I'm just going to glue onto the front there. And then I also glue the star down on top of the heart. I think this would be so cute either on your front door. You could just set it up as just on a shelf somewhere. It would be cute on a porch. I absolutely love this. I set this on top of my china hutch, and I think it looks absolutely adorable. So fun to give that stars and stripes look to any patriotic decor. I'm going to do a patriotic take on the little chain links that I have seen in a lot of decorating recently. So I'm going to take 3 embroidery hoops that I have and take the inner ring of those, and any size will work that you want. These are what I think the second smallest size that I could at least find at Hobby Lobby. And I did cut one of them open so that way you'll be able to fit the other 2 links onto it. And I just use wire cutters. However, scissors would probably make a much better cut. I was just too lazy to go upstairs to get my big scissors because they had been taken upstairs for some reason. So I just had wire cutters and they worked, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got scissors, they will cut right through these, so use that. And then I'm just going to use red, white, and blue. Like I said, everything today is doing a patriotic theme, but I am doing this because I thought that would kind of be a little bit of fun way to bring the red, white, and blue in, a little subtle, but you could do these in any color that you wanted to match your decorating. You wouldn't have to do them patriotic. You could even leave them the natural color of the embroidery hoop if you wanted to. After these dry completely, you can then take your center ring, open it up a little bit. You can see it's got a lot of flexibility there. And then I'm just going to link these two on there. And then I'm going to take, and I don't think hot glue would work the best for this. I think it might leave a little bit too much space. So I just use a little bit of super glue. I believe, I can't remember if I got this at Dollar Tree or if I got this at Walmart, but it's just some little off brand of super glue. Now, because my cut had a little bit of jaggedness to it from using the wire cutters, I'm using a little bit of spackling to kind of give it a smooth look. The whole idea of these is to make it look like they're all linked together seamlessly. And then of course I just sand to kind of smooth out where I did that little bit of spackling. And then you know what I have to do. If you don't want to distress things, stop right now. But of course I have to go in and distress everything. So I'm taking a little bit of mineral chalk paint and I'm just going in to give them a little bit of a worn, weathered look. And then I do go in with my little, you can use a sanding block. Obviously this is just an emery board, and I go through on all of the edges, give a little bit of a distressed look. I think these are going to be such a fun addition to my 4th of July and Patriotic decor. I think they look great sitting in a tray. They'd be fun on a tiered tray as well. I don't know. I'm really happy with how these turned out. What do you guys think about them? I have had this little windmill from Dollar Tree sitting in my stash for a little while now, and it's kind of been staring at me, waiting for the perfect project. And I feel like I've done a good job with this one, so you'll have to let me know what you think. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of dismantle it a little bit. So I just kind of take off that front little button on it, and then just using a cross between pliers and then some wire cutters, I kind of just bend and pry, and it does come apart pretty easily. Just take just a little bit of work, but like most Dollar Tree stuff, it's not too bad to get apart. And then I take one of the blades and I just trace it across my scrapbook paper that I'm going to use. And then I'm just going to use some Mod Podge and paint that onto each of the blades, and then just place the scrapbook paper down, and I'm going to press it really tightly to make sure that it gets a good bond, and then just kind of rub out any bubbles or anything. To make this have a really crisp, clean edge on each of these, I just take my emery board. You could use a finger sander, sanding block, sandpaper, anything like that. Sometimes the emery board just gets into some tight spaces that some of those other things don't, at least for me. So I am using a downward motion, so you want to go downward so you're not peeling up the scrapbook paper, and it's just going to sand off the edge to give this a really crisp, clean look. So now I'm going to do the center little button. So I'm just going to trace it out and do the same thing with it with the Mod Podge and with sanding. Then you're going to take any type of sign blank that you have. This happens to be a wood canvas that I had. I think I purchased this one at Walmart. And or you could just use any type of sign from Dollar Tree, but I coated the whole base in white chalk paint, and now I am just going to tape off some stripes. So I use a piece of tape as my spacer to put in between. You can see here I'll put that down, and then I put the next piece of tape down and peel that middle one up. That leaves you perfectly spaced stripes that we're going to do. We're going to paint red stripes on top of this white base, and I pounce along the edge of the tape to give it a seal, and then I kind of go back in, and that's when I fill in all the negative space there. So I do this throughout the whole piece, both on the front and on the sides. And now for what we hope is one of the most satisfying things is when you peel the tape back and you can see those nice crisp lines. I think this turned out really good. There's not any bleeding on here. I do just have a couple of spaces that my fingers touched with white paint that I had to go touch up, but that's super easy. And And I'm going to take my emery board, you can use sandpaper or anything, and you know how I distress things, so I'm going to go through, kind of want this to look like a little bit of a faded flag, if you will. So I'm just going to go sand all of the edges, and then since you are doing red and white, you want to make sure that you do the stripes individually. You don't want to kind of cross the red over onto the white, or it really will make those white stripes turn a red color. So I actually don't distress the white stripes, just the red ones, if that makes sense. So then I am going to put some glue just on the ring behind each of the blades and then in the middle, and then I am just going to firmly place that down and hold that windmill onto the base and just hold it tight until that glue dries. And then I'm going to glue that little button on the front to give it kind of a complete look. I love how this turned out. I'm so excited to put this in my house for 4th of July. I go overboard for 4th of July. I know a lot of you guys have left me comments stating that you do the same thing for 4th of July, and I think this is going to be the most perfect addition to my decor for 4th of July. I also just want to let you know that I did get this scrapbook paper at Joann's. They have some really cute 4th of July scrapbook paper. So let me know down in the comments if this is something that you think that you would recreate. So onto this cute little canvas. Now the material on this was almost like a nylon type material, not super, I don't even know how to describe the texture of it, but I decided to cut it off and just use the frame. I've seen so many other people try this, and I've actually never deconstructed a canvas, I guess is what you'd say. Anyway, so I just cut this off and ripped it, and yes, those things, nobody's kidding when they say that these are so well put together in the back that it's hard to rip off the canvas. So I did use some needle nose pliers to kind of get the canvas off of it. And then you're left with the most amazing frame. So I just took some antique wax and a baby wipe and just went around the whole frame to kind of stain it a little bit darker than the color that it was. And then I'm going to go and dry brush the frame. The look that I kind of wanted to go for was like an old painter's ladder, like if you've seen those before, with just kind of the really old finish and the white paint kind of splattered everywhere. I don't know why that came into my mind, but that was kind of, as I was doing this, the color kind of reminded me of that. So the more that I kept dry brushing, that was what I was going for. I wanted excuse me, I can't talk today. I wanted it to be very, very aged, very weathered looking, just exactly like an old painter's ladder. So you're gonna have to let me know if I achieved that or not. And I had this scrapbook paper that was a blue and white, and I thought this would be perfect. So I did just kind of measure and cut it down to size. And then I did just use hot glue on the back. It was there, it was ready to go. And so I just thought that would give the best hold. And then I did just kind of smooth that out. And then with my cutting machine, I cut out the letter I, and then I also cut out America. And I placed that on the paper there. I did not use transfer paper because I was afraid that the frame was so thick that I would have had to push it so far down in there. And I was afraid it would rip the paper that was on there. So I was a little hesitant. So I just kind of did it all kind of by hand there. And then I'm just gonna take one of the hearts that Lynn sent me and glue that on there. So it says, I love America. I felt like the America didn't pop out as much as I would have liked, so I did take one of my black flare pens. This is just the Papermate flare pens. I'm sure any other kind of felt tip marker would work fine. And I just went ahead and traced around it to make it pop a little bit. I think this might be my favorite DIY of all of my 4th of July DIYs that I've done today. I think this turned out so cute, and I'm so excited to put this in my house. I found this sign at my local thrift store. It came from Hobby Lobby. You can tell it's brand new, it's never been used. I tried to peel that front off, but no such luck. So I did take my emery board and I go around all of the edges to make sure that it won't peel off at a later time. That way, when I paint over this, the edges aren't gonna start curling up, if that makes sense. So I just go around all of the edges. I then give this 2 really good coats of, I believe I'm using plaster is the color that I'm using. Obviously you can use whatever color you want. And I do go over the edges on this as well to kind of give them a little bit of coverage also. I found this really cute cut file, the SVG, online, and I will go ahead and leave a link down in my description box to it if you decide to use it. So if you do make this project, you are going to need some type of cutting machine, either a Cricut or a Silhouette. And I do cut it out of both the red and the blue. You need the 2-tone there. And then I just kind of center it with my sign. I again have lost my little scrapey tool for my Cricut, so I'm down to using an old hotel key card that I have. But I do scrape that down, and then as I peel this back slowly, I'm just making sure that everything is coming off okay. So you just take your time peeling this off. This is sped up a little bit so you can kind of tell how slow I really do go. And then I really want this to look so old and distressed. I found one online that I thought was super cute that was very similar to this, but it was very, very weathered looking. I think the lady that was selling them was charging like $80 for them. So I think when I bought this cut file, it was $3.50, and then I paid $2 for the sign at my thrift store. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good. So I do go through and sand all of the, wherever there is white paint at, I sand and try to make it look really weathered. I don't care that below you can kind of see the old sign coming through the colors of that. I actually like the way that looks. So if you're not a fan of that, you can always go back over. If you weren't able to get your thing off the front of the sign, you can go back over with your base color of paint to cover that up. So again, I just go all the way around, I sand a bunch and get this really nice and weathered looking. I do go in with the original base color and I do dry brush over the top of the vinyl. That way it gives the vinyl a good weathered look. Obviously you can do this as a stencil and kind of sand that down and do the same thing. I felt this was a very intricate design to do as a stencil, however. And then I do also go in with a little bit of mineral color to kind of give it a little bit even more of an aged or distressed look. I really just wanted this to look old and weathered, if that makes sense. Obviously, if you don't want that, you'll just leave it with the vinyl on there and not age it at all. But I think this turned out so cute and so fun. I don't know if I'm going to put this on my porch or where I'm going to hang this in my house, but I am so in love with this. I think this might actually be my favorite project of today. So you'll have to let me know down in the comments what you think of this. So I think I have an idea of what to do with this heart and some of the sticks that Lynn sent me. So the first thing I'm going to do is give this heart a really good coat of red paint. This is just any color red chalk paint. I'm going to go for kind of a 4th of July theme with as many items as I can. And so I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to do with this. Then I'm going to take 5 of these sticks and I'm going to give them all a really good coat of blue on the edges and everything as well. I'm going to make a star out of these. So I start laying out the pattern for my star, just kind of a very rustic looking star here. And then I'm just going to use my hot glue and hot glue down the little star points. And I do get to a point with my last stick there. I think it's a little too long, so I just snip off the end there, and then I just go back in with the blue paint, just kind of cover up that edge. And then I glue that one down. And then while the glue is still a little bit pliable, I do kind of mold it, I guess, for lack of a better term, into the shape that I want. And then I just kind of go in and reinforce it with a little bit of extra hot glue. I then take my heart and I just glue it down onto the star there. And then to bring some white in for red, white, and blue, I am just going to use these cute little flowers and just glue them on. Probably would have been fine with just 3, but you know, why not do 5 if you can? So I did 5. And then I'm going to take both of these kinds of ribbon that I was sent, and I'm going to make just a cute little bow to put at the top there. And then to give this a really rustic look here, I am just going to dry brush some white chalk paint all over. I just go in all the little crevices, all the little sides, everything like that, to give it that really weathered, aged look. I think this turned out super cute. It would be a great door hanger, something for patio, inside, anywhere. I just think is a great touch of 4th of July or patriotic. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed all of these fun patriotic DIYs that I have created. I hope you all have a very happy 4th of July weekend. And remember to always be safe, be smart, be nice, be happy. Choose to have a good day because you are amazing. Thank you so much for your support, guys. And I would love if you would consider subscribing and also click that like button. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just saw, here's another one that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and have an amazing day.